Hey guys, it's John and Shannon with That DIY Couple, and we're doing another net worth update.
So if you guys have been following along in this series, we have been tracking our net worth from the extreme negative right after graduating from college and grad school with so much debt to the land of positive net worth and prosperity. And we are bringing you along for the ride year by year in this series. So this is us after 4 years in the workplace for me, 5 years in the workplace for you. This is actually the year that we got married. So if some of you guys might not know this, but John and I have been together for 13 years.
Yeah.
But we just got married a few years ago in 2017. And we
today is 2 days before our second year wedding anniversary.
Oh, happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary. So
we can do a whole video about like why we waited so long to get married. But
amazing picture is the cover of our wedding invitation. So we had a 1980s themed wedding. We kind of alluded to that in a couple different videos, and we've been meaning to make a video about the whole wedding process. But this was our invitation. Shannon did all the makeup for me with the David Bowie look, which is unbelievable.
He is Bowie here.
We'd also lost a bunch of weight. By this point, we had begun our kind of weight loss journey and all that. So compared to 2016, I think we're both 70, 80 pounds lighter. This
next picture is just to give you guys a sense of how much fun this wedding is. This was some of our friends and the costumes that they wore to the wedding. It was right around Halloween. We all had a great time dressing up. It was just a raging 80s party. It was so much fun. All right, into the net worth stuff. So this is a slide with our debts. We like to do our debts first. So, okay, 2016, our student loan balance was $285,000. And by 2017, we had paid off 10 grand of that. So 275,000. We had been slow paying that. Our interest rates were low. We had refinanced and we were focusing on investments.
Our car loan had changed from about $14,000 at the end of 2016 to $12,000 at the end of 2017. Again, as Shannon said, we were slow paying that because we had a very low interest rate. We didn't make any additional payments, so that's what it was. Our credit cards, so this is something that in previous videos we talked about a lot, about our very large credit card balance. At the end of 2016, it was about $68,000. By 2017, it was about $55,000. So 2017, I think, was the year we first started getting serious about actually repaying this debt. We didn't want to pay, even though we had like 0% balance transfer, all this sort of stuff, we didn't want to pay. We just didn't want to have credit card debt to that extent anymore. So we made a little bit of progress. We didn't pay that much back, and the explanation...
we paid back that amount simply because one of the big balance transfers like shot up, the interest rate shot up, so we paid it back really quickly.
Yeah. So we didn't make a ton of progress, but you'll see in future years, closer to now, how we tackled that.
So our primary residence mortgage, we made just a little bit of progress on that. Again, low interest rate, slow paying it. It was $236,000 in 2016, and it was $230,000 in 2017. We had recently bought the house, so most of our payments of around $2 grand or so per month were going towards interest.
2017 was one of the only years since we started working that we didn't move. Mm-hmm. We're actually in the same house the whole year, which is sort of remarkable for us.
And we incurred more debt on investment properties, surprise, surprise, because John was busy acquiring more properties for investment. So 2016, we had about 800 grand of investment property debt. And in 2017, that business debt, that investment property debt, shot up to $1.1 million. So this sort of debt stresses me out less than all the other consumer and commercial debt, because this is, you see on the next slide that the assets far outstrip this, and this is really super low interest rate, and not only is the value of these properties way higher than the amount of debt, but they generate tons of cash flow for us.
Yeah, so all these properties, when we say investment properties, we mean buy and hold long-term investments. These are not like flips. So the idea is that we're buying them because we expect to rent them out for, at minimum, the carrying cost, and hopefully a lot above the carrying cost. So every month on these properties, we're making money, or certainly not losing money. So they're all pretty conservative investments. We don't have expensive stuff. As Shannon mentioned, I think in the last video, we have value add plays, shall we say. So we bought properties that were really distressed, fixed them up, and then rented them out. And so that's what this is.
And I think that this is like, it's important to contextualize where we live and kind of our peer group, because so much of this is like, you know, like gazing around at the people around you. Like, we live in, you know, New Jersey. I work in New York City. We travel in these kind of like, frankly, elite circles because of our educational background and our profession. And so there are people who are our age who are buying $1.5 million homes in the suburbs all the time in our peer group. And we're sitting here living in a $230,000 home, which frankly in this area is a very modest home, although it can be a very lovely home in other parts of the country.
I think it's a very modest home almost anywhere, just because the cost of real estate is so expensive. I mean, we're living at this time in a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom house that's about 1,200 square feet. So, and yeah, it costs almost $300,000 because of where we are, but it's definitely not a luxurious home.
But it was, for us, an extremely luxurious home because we had been coming from house hacking, having a bunch of roommates, and living in a basement.
Right.
So we were feeling really good about our financial choices at this point, in spite of this mountain of debt.
So the other things that happened to us in 2017, which were great, is that we paid back all of the tax liability that we incurred in 2015. That was a big goal for us. The loan that I had taken out from my law firm dating from 2012 was finally repaid, or I think mostly forgiven at this point. I think they might have just forgotten about it. And we repaid back the loan that Shannon had taken out from her dad, also stemming from 2014, early 2015. So we made some progress in totality. We purposely made progress on our credit card debt, the tax liability loan that we had, the family loan, and then the law firm loan. So those are all great positives. But having said all that, our debts did increase because we increased the amount of money that we borrowed to buy investment property. So in 2016, we were at 1.4 million, and in 2017, we were at almost 1.7 million.
All right, so on to the assets, a slide that I like more. So our checking and savings in 2016 was $15,000. In 2017, it was $20,000. Again, I think this is probably reflective of the fact that we had recently acquired a property at the very end of the year. But typically, we like to keep more like 35, 40 grand in checking and savings for easy liquid cash in case of an emergency related to one of the, at this point, many investment properties. So the assets for investment properties grew as well, from 1.2 million to almost 1.9 million, which is insane.
So a lot of
hard work.
Some of that is acquiring new properties, and some of it is that the value of our existing properties increased. So this is a time in the broader real estate market, 2016, 2017, where real estate prices were really going up a lot. So some of the properties we acquired in 2014 and early 2015 had almost doubled by this time in value. And they've since stabilized more or less since 2017, but 2016, 2017 was a time of really, really rapid growth for real estate in the area that we live.
And will this continue forever? Obviously not. Will at some point you see these assets probably go down in the course of us holding them for 30 years? Probably, because we're probably looking at some sort of correction.
So the same is true for the value of our primary residence. We bought it in 2016, but by the end of 2017, it had increased in value by something like 30 grand. I think that this is even probably conservative because, as you'll see, in 2018, we acquired another property that's very similar to our primary residence in 2017. But we valued it at about $300,000, so that's where that increase comes from.
This accounts for a forced appreciation. When we bought our house, it was in really bad shape, and we did work to it. You guys can see the videos where we renovated our bathroom and our kitchen ourselves. Okay, so the value of our...
That's in 2018.
Oh, that's in 2018. Coming soon. The value of our car went down again from $15,000 to $13,000. Cars are really bad assets that only depreciate. Unless you're like collecting, which we're not. This is a crappy CRV.
It's a great CRV.
The value of our personal property increased as we bought more stuff that we probably didn't need, from $10,000 to $12,500.
So in totality, the value of our assets at the end of 2016 were about 1.6 million, and at 2017 they were about 2.2 million, which is a pretty substantial increase. Again, a lot of that is born.
That's insane.
A lot of that is born from the value of real estate increasing and buying investment properties. But so this is kind of like the payoff from a lot of the work that we did in 2015 and 2016, buying properties and house hacking. All of a sudden, we're able to enjoy this appreciation that, granted, is unrealized. So it's a paper appreciation because we're not selling these properties. But we used pretty conservative numbers and have pretty good records of what stuff is selling for, because I'm in the real estate business. I do that professionally. So that resulted in a very substantial increase in our assets for 2017.
Okay, so the way that most people calculate net worth is to take all of your assets and subtract all of your debts to figure out what you have on balance. So this is the situation where if you had to take everything that you owned and sell it, and then you had to pay off everything that you owed, how much would you have left over? So in 2016, our assets minus our debts was 152,000, which was the first time that that number was a positive number and was a big milestone for us. In 2017, our assets minus our debts was 535,000. So that was huge. I mean, we're feeling pretty good about ourselves if we look at this calculation.
So the change in our net worth is almost 400,000, which is I think maybe the biggest change in net worth that we've had since we started this net worth
in a single year
journey.
Okay, but this is not the way that we like to look at net worth. We like to take a much more conservative approach because we do not believe that your primary residence is an investment. Your primary residence is oftentimes most people's largest investment, and it does go up over time, and it will probably be worth more when you sell it eventually than when you got it, but it's not something that you're buying for investment purposes. You're not evaluating your primary residence. Most people don't evaluate your primary residence with the intention of later disposing of it. You want to live there, and if you don't live there, you want to live somewhere else that's probably comparable. And so we like to reconcile our assets by not counting things that we don't consider investments and things that we wouldn't sell in an emergency situation. So we take out our primary residence, we take out our car, and we take out our personal property for a more conservative calculation of net worth.
So with that, our net worth at the end of 2016...
A reconciliation here, sorry. So our reconciliation went from 1.3... So our assets in 2016 were 1.3 million, and our assets in 2017 were 1.9 million after reconciling.
So putting that into our net worth calculation with the assets that we don't count, like our primary residence and our car, 2017 was the first year that we had a positive net worth by our calculation, which is huge. So in 2016 we had a negative net worth of 137,000, and in 2017 we had a positive net worth of 209,000, which is a 350,000, almost $350,000 change, which is huge. So you can see on the next slide the graph displaying that over time. So this starts from when we started this video series up until this video, which is 2017. Our net worth traditionally has went above zero for the first time in 2016, and now it's substantially above zero in 2017. And the next slide is our conservative, our personal net worth, whatever you want to call it. That is finally in the positive. That's the yellow line in 2017. So a huge year.
So how do you grow your net worth? In the conservative calculation, we grew it by, even in the conservative calculation, we grew it by 350,000 in 1 year. In the traditional calculation, we grew it by 382,000 in 1 year. What were the factors that helped us grow our net worth by this insane amount in a single year?
I think the biggest factor was real estate appreciation. Mm-hmm. So that we, as Shannon has alluded to a couple times in these videos, we invested really heavily in real estate instead of in things like the stock market or more traditional investments, because we felt that the real estate market where we live in the northern New Jersey area was very uniquely positioned where, because of the recession stemming from 2008 to 2012, more or less, real estate prices were really depressed. So we were able to buy properties that we just felt the value was way off. These are value add properties in bad shape, whatever, but in desirable areas. We essentially did everything we could to buy as much as we could in 2014, 2015, 2016. 2017, we sort of stopped buying a lot, certainly in this area, but we're enjoying the appreciation for the stuff that we got in 2014 and 2015. So that's probably the number one thing.
I think the number two thing is that we are very privileged to have a very high income, particularly at my job as what they call a big law attorney in New York City. And we finally had the self-restraint to not spend everything that we were making. So we were able to reduce our expenses and just put everything into investment.
You had switched jobs in 2017 as well.
That's true.
So you actually had more time at home to, I think we had just more time. Yeah, we had more time just to be more thoughtful about what we were eating, what we wanted to do, how we wanted to deploy our money, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
That was the year we started the YouTube channel.
You started the YouTube channel. At the end of that year, it was the year we lost a bunch of weight. That was the year that we moved into our new house at the end of 2016, but in 2017 we finally kind of moved in and got all of our stuff here and in our backyard and everything else. So 2017
started growing our own food.
Yeah, we started our garden in 2017. So 2017 was a big year for us financially, personally. We got married, so...
I think we really started embracing minimalism that year and selling things too. We'll put a link to the 10 things we don't buy video. That was from around that time that we started really reducing our costs. But I think there's a lot more that can be said about that, but that's the end of this net worth snapshot. And until next time, guys, do well and always make things better.